uThermal has finally joined the lobby. Let's hit that tweet button. I found the perfect GIF. I'm so proud of my tweet. Players are ready. Game number one's going to be on Cyberforce. We got all the foreign language casters in here. On the main stage, currently happening, it's TY versus Sue. And on the B stream, Wardy stream, it is going to be Bunny versus Deer. So basically, I got the best match. Suckers. Still an interesting match as far as, you know, the group score goes. We're going to be paying closer and closer attention to that. Sue, if he loses against TY, is basically done for, but either one of these players takes a victory. It's either going to cement Scarlett into more of that top 3, or give uThermal hope to get into, or to stay in the top 3, I guess, since he won his last series. And again, these head-to-head matches also count. Maps do count. A lot of these games have been off the back of those maps, but okay, this wasn't an extractor cancel. The top, sorry, bottom right is the red Zerg. It is Scarlett. There's like no music, okay. And the top left is the blue Terran. It is uThermal. You better be ready for some early shenanigans. Cyril bringing out the double gas Roach Rush, says that he never loses with it. Not what we're seeing here. But still, nonetheless, pretty cheesy. Oh, no. I gotta go back to Twitter. I gotta fix the thing. Oh, and Trados even tweeted at me, letting me know. More important things are happening, okay? There might be Lings and speed on the way, but I don't care. Okay, now I get to watch the Lings go across the map. So, this is still going to have an expansion, but obviously it's going to be a lot of Lings to deal with initially, and then on top of that, follow up very fast speed. uThermal might have trouble getting this command center actually done and finished. In fact, it's highly unlikely that he even gets it finished. And there is kind of no universe where I would see that happening, unless the Reaper saw the Lings immediately and already got cracking on taking the Ling count down. This is way too much. So uThermal has a tough choice to make. Either he assumes that this is more committed, yeah, there we go, and cancels the command center, or he takes a risk and hopes that speed isn't following this up and brings Reaper back home. Really nice block with some SimCity here. Really, really good stuff. If he gets room again, he will start the reactor, or if it's necessary, a tech lab, but I don't think that'll be necessary. He does have really stop that one supply depot, though, and he needs to actually have the possibility of repairing it just to be really, really safe. It looks like everything's going to be fine. Unfortunately, his Reaper did go across the map. He wanted to find out what was going beyond this simple Ling attack. He wanted to see if it was speed. He wanted to see if it was roaches. Unfortunately, with speed finishing up, that Reaper has to give its life to get that scout. That's weird. I forgot how toxic chat gets with Scarlett. Oof. Oof, that feel. So, quick little cancel there in the command center. uThermal, with the very correct decision to just cancel it immediately, is not as far behind as it possibly could have been. If he doesn't build a wall, if he tries to save the command center, he loses a ton of SCVs. The command center is even later than it is right now, and it's just a very awkward game. uThermal also, because he has to build the third supply depot, actually builds it, and as such will not be supply blocked due to the later command center. And it's really not so bad. Scarlett not ending with the aggression quite yet. She's going to have those speedlings in a big enough number to scare, you know, 2 or 4 Hellions. They get a wrap around, they would die, but once uThermal gets to 4/6, so you'll feel more confident, try and get some more scouting out in the map, which he's also trying to do with the Liberator. But he really does need to see this follow-up Spire. Scarlett, I'm sure all of you, as everyone flooded into this chat, great stuff, watched her interview. Good lord. Said that she is actually really liking TVZ. That she feels like it's returned to a place that she was best at it years and years ago. And that would include something like a 2-base Spire. That's a build that you don't see much at all, but it did definitely exist and was actually pretty good back in the day. And there it is. Spire started in the main base. Hellions are, as I said, in that 6 count, actually 5 count, but still enough to take on most Ling swells as long as they're bending around corners, staying a little bit off that creep. Oh, they dive deep on a creep for there. Oh, God. Liberator in the main base gets a couple of kills. And he's going to reposition to try and take out the queen, but Scarlett is paying attention. The good news about Scarlett's 2 bases is that she doesn't have a 3rd base to quite worry about. Scan in the natural, sees a Baneling nest, and of course he was seeing that lair. He was trying to see that Spire, and he does eventually confirm it, but the natural Baneling nest, the 2-base situation, have already kind of confirmed that in his mind, so it's going to be really tricky. You know, this can be a situation that, especially in the hands of someone like Scarlett, who was definitely very good at this build, the style of play back in the day, can make it work even when it's scouted. It's difficult to do, but it definitely can happen that the Terran player has to kind of overreact to this, to take it very seriously. Can't let the Baneling bust happen alongside with this Spire, because that is a possibility. Ling swells, Baneling busts, trying to catch a Terran very much so off guard. It's not what's happening here, but it's something that you have to be worried about, not letting anything through that natural, because the mutas themselves are already going to be kind of annoying to deal with until you get that Marine count higher. Now, the uThermal didn't go for a 3rd CC, so he actually already has 3 barracks producing, and that should put him into a decent spot to protect himself against the mutas, even with only 1 or 2 missile turrets. He doesn't need to build one around a supply depot. He probably doesn't need to build one around his production. If he gone for a 3rd CC, that's a different story. So 1 in each mineral base, mineral line, and then just wait for a decent amount of Marines, and you should be fine. Hellions are also going to come back after doing their decent amount of scouting. Scarlett, as expected, with that amazing creep spread. Off the back of very few queens as well. Here come the mutas. The Marine gets that first scout. They go right into the mineral line. Also some pretty good City from uThermal. If he did build him as a turret, high production, tech production, it'd be pretty good. Oof. 1-1 is now on the way as we get into the grittier part of the TDZ. uThermal with his 2-base attack. He's not fully committed to this. There is going to be a 3rd CC behind, but if this were to be totally surrounded and shut down, uThermal would be in a tricky spot. But just the sheer amount of units that he has, the Hellions as well, still in Hellion mode, not Hellbats, no Hellbats even available, no armory. Actually doing a pretty nice job barbecuing some of these Lings, barbecuing up the Banelings before speed was done, long before speed was done. Well, the mutas up on top of it now. Doesn't actually end up working out too well in Scarlett's favor. Her count of mutas never really getting up that high. It's not really scary yet. Look at the numbers here. 64 drones. That looks so impressive, but what about her army? There's barely any to work with. uThermal with this very decisive 2-base attack, both defended the Spire play as well as had a very punishing attack with enough tanks to actually make this work. Here come the Banelings with speed on creep, but it just isn't enough. The tanks are actually even focus firing on top of them, but it doesn't end up mattering. Drones are dead. Hellions finally die, but drones are dead, queens are dead, mutas are dead, and Scarlett will take the first loss here. uThermal saying in his interview that he does commonly beat her. Most of the time, he takes the wins, and he's proving it here right now. Second game's going to be on King's Cove. Scarlett with an aggressive opener. Didn't really get what she was hoping for. There are much better scenarios, as I said. Actually breaking down the wall, getting more SCVs, hoping that uThermal tries to be a little too greedy and tries to save the CC. But then the follow-up of 2-base Spires, I was saying, it's such a dangerous game to play. You don't have a lot of gas to go into Banelings, so even if you have Banelings available, it's not going to be very many. Her superpower creep spread does help her in particular maybe make that build work more than other Zergs. But even that wasn't enough. uThermal was not shy about his decision-making, and that's the real difference, actually. It's not so much that Scarlett chose the wrong build or that she wasn't able to make it work on entirely of her own free will and mechanics and ability. It was that uThermal actually just played a perfect game against that. From the command center, canceled immediately, protecting his mineral lines against the mutas, and then actually being decisive with his 2-base push. That was the perfect response. We'll see some games where the Terran players will go, okay, it's a 2-base Spire, I'm going to go for 3 barracks, and then they'll just kind of waffle. You know, they'll try and get the 3rd CC after and guard themselves against the mutas, and if Scarlett can buy herself even 60 seconds more of time with the mutas to get more creep spread, to get, you know, the 20, 40 lings that she needs to protect herself, then it's a much better game for the Zerg. Gosh darn it. In the top left, down 1, it is the red Zerg Scarlett. In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, it is uThermal. And Scarlett not going to go for anything aggressively opened. I mean, uThermal could throw out a 2-Rax. Scarlett might have set the tone with her early aggression. uThermal certainly could do his own, but uThermal seems to have a lot of confidence against her, and well, yeah, he could still throw out a 2-Rax or a 3-Rax. I'm thinking he's going to play macro games. Natural command center going to go down, and we have ourselves at least 2 bases, 2-3. If uThermal takes this series 2-0, you should be feeling pretty confident about this group. I know a lot of people looked at this group initially and thought, you know, TY first, maybe Sue somewhere up in the top 3. That's apparently not happening. And then who else was maybe the more default favorite? Well, and then people were hoping for Scarlett. That's definitely the case. Some of the cooler people are really thinking that Bunny would show up here, and it's not over and decided yet for this group. It's already being a little mixed up. Sue, not anywhere close to getting the top position, and really, if he loses his next series, probably won't make it the top 3. uThermal actually looking to be the foreigner hope as he feels confident against Scarlett and has already taken a game. Number 1. TY at least is, you know, matching people's expectations, which is great. If he wins his series, he's probably going to be our first Terran through. uThermal would like to be the second. uThermal had such amazing TBT too. Like, he almost beat TY, so I'm really glad he was able to actually punch through and take the ace match versus Bunny. Single Hellion? Ah, okay. So uThermal, he has been, well, he has done this build, actually all the way back to even before Montreal of last year. So you don't go into a bunch of Hellions. Something that Scarlett's initially going to be like, what? Huh? Quay? And then she's going to realize probably that this is something that uThermal does. She's no Hellions popping out anymore. She only saw the 1. She's not too eager to get a scout into that main base, which I think is still kind of concerning. Well, the Hellion tells you there is a factory and there's probably a starport. It doesn't tell you what exactly is following up here, and there are still some even tricky tank pushes that can happen. uThermal, unfortunately, can't really do that Cyclone follow-up that he did at Montreal because of, well, you can't produce them off of a tech labless factory anymore. So it is just the drop, which she scouts. So I guess it doesn't matter that her Overlord's not scouting the actual main. These Lings are setting up for a bit of a run by, but they're not enough to actually take on a Reaper right now. What is 2 Hellions and growing. So no Cyclone involved in this, but the idea to distract the Zerg player with a medevac, keep the Marines alive, let the Widowmine go most of the time, and then eventually have Hellions to run into the third or natural is actually quite good. But look at this. Despite seeing the medevac, and I'm pretty sure she actually saw it, perhaps not expecting the Widowmine, so losing 5 drones to that, plus another one to the Marines, and the Queens are getting on top of the medevac, and yeah, uThermal needs to get out of there. Yeah, actually, nice scout, too, on that lair timing. Scarlett now with the supreme best opener, but not the worst there either. It's a lot scarier if she's still dealing with this, and the Hellions are now patrolling around her third base, which is exactly what uThermal wants to try and abuse here, but not only does he have a medevac, he also has a Liberator, and he still has those Hellions, taking on some Lings in the middle of the map. Scarlet creep spread's already out in front of her ramp, but there's not a ton of Queens on the front here to stop, so she really has to choose her army positioning wisely, and in fact, the natural base is the target of the Hellions as they run past into the main base. They're actually going to take out the Lings on the ramp while they have the choke. The medevac still being microed as well, and drones are definitely going to go down here, up to 9 already, 10, and maybe a few more past that. 3 Hellions still alive, looking for the really juicy shots. Still 14 in total. Now, uThermal did lose every single unit in that run-by attempt, but he has gained himself an economic advantage. His third CC is about 80% done, and his upgrades will be faster than Scarlett's, so she does not have an evolution chamber. She's also going into roaches here, so uThermal's follow-up tank is absolutely perfect, and as long as he can abuse King Cove's choke points, then he should be fine. I actually hope that Scarlett doesn't go into roaches, and I believe she just canceled the roach speed. She did indeed, so I'm actually really happy about that. I think roaches would have been just too much of a basic game, basically. It would have been numbers to numbers. uThermal would have been less scared of run-bys, less scared of creep spread, more, active with his drops probably, and his tanks, as I said, would have been that perfect decision. Swapping into Lings, though, she's still going to have trouble. It's still damage to take where you really aren't supposed to take damage in the early game, and uThermal had some pretty damn good macro behind it, so that it's not like he's, super falling behind because he's not a good player. No, he's great, and he seems to be really on point today, and he is maybe looking to be the, actually, the second Terran, but also the only foreigner out of the group, right? Groups, plural. That 1-1 combat shields attack, whether it's just the drops or actually an attempt at a tank push, is going to be kind of nasty. We have been seeing the likes of Innovation. Actually, Gumi a little less so. No, actually, he did do it. But Innovation is doing some really sick follow-up double tank pushes right off the back of some seriously good harassment with Hellions and Liberators. This isn't going to hit that exact timing. It was a bit of a different build than what Innovation was doing, but still, it would have been maybe possible. Not against the Scarlet creep spread that she just... She has a superpower, guys. Like, I actually can't explain this. This is any other Zerg guaranteed doesn't have this much creep spread. I can actually guarantee that. Even Serral, I think, would still be less creep spread. Really good infestation pit. Let's see how that goes. She did turn whatever Rochi she got into Ravagers, which is definitely the most useful thing they can provide. Yeah, just going on the drops, so just continuing to send out drops too. His tanks can stay at home and defend. He's reading into the composition of his opponent and changing over into Widowmines. I think he already was. I think the 2 tanks were just defensive and he wants to get into Widowmines, but if he had seen a large fill of roaches, then he might have stuck on a tank and then got the second factory to the tech lab. As it kind of seems like he's going to be playing that more defensive style, so I was expecting the 4CC, but even putting it on location, King's Cove, one of the more macro maps that we have. It's a pretty large map, like your 0, but then you have these chokes for your natural and third, and then your 4th is still kind of very, very close to your reinforcement line. uThermal's top priority with these drops, not necessarily getting, canceled bases or drones, although that wasn't even a cancel, that was a kill, really nice there. But actually stopping the creep spread, getting creep tumors and getting the queens ideally, but Scarlett's usually pretty good about hiding those queens. Here comes some drone losses though, nope, not quite, picks up in the nick of time, and we'll get out with both medevacs alive. uThermal playing a superb macro game. Scarlett does dive for that very fast hive. And her ideal situation here is that she's capable of splitting correctly, using her queen focus fire correctly because she doesn't have any other anti-air, and being able to take as few trades as possible, really. You know, efficient trades, yes, but also just not trading very much. She wants to scare uThermal away, keep that bank pretty big despite not having, you know, the most amazing economy at the beginning of this game. Now she's good. Now she's going up to 5 bases, 80 drones. But at the beginning of the game wasn't the case. And she wants to get to enough money with enough security, just barely enough security, to get into either Ultras or Greater Spire. She's actually giving herself both options here, which might be a little bit greedy. uThermal does have his push on the way now. He's already got a decent number of Marauders. He's got the combo splash here, both Widow Mines and a couple of tanks. Still has a lot of creep spread to go through, which is what Scarlett was really depending on there. Gonna grab herself a couple of Vipers, but the bio count's actually still the really scary part. Abducts, Parasitic Bombs. I don't know if you're really getting any really amazing blinding styles, but maybe that could help as well. Spellcaster's basically never bad. But is it really going to be enough? Her 4th base under fire. Her 5th is about to be up and running, so she could try and transfer her drones over there. But she loses out on so much creep spread, so she wants to take the battle right here, right now. uThermal did not clear up every single creep tumor, so he is definitely deeply on the creep, especially off to the right side. But she starts around at Banelings, and that's where the Ravagers are going to get taken down. Transfusers are coming through, but a tank's still alive. So much bio still alive. So many medevacs to heal through this, too. And while Scarlett almost about enough time to get to Ultras, she does not have chitinous plating, so they really are not going to look any good. Something about uThermal's playstyle just seems to really knock Scarlett off her game. As y'all know, she has amazing TVZ, and her series with COI can be really cool. Now, something about uThermal. Seems like she's going to get O2'd here. The Viper's finally going to try and do something, but again, what exactly are they going to do? Bio can kind of run away from Blinding Clouds. It is Blinding Clouds, but they definitely want to choke to actually be effective. Failings finish up, try crashing into anything. But they're not even efficient. And that is going to be it. This one Ultra. Poor boy. That Ultra didn't even have chitinous plating. It would have been ripped to shreds. And uThermal takes a pretty swift 2-0. Responding accurately to Scarlett's pressure, and then applying very good pressure on his own. GG.